We're Smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome inside the locker room on Smooth 98.1. Good morning, Tega.
Good morning. Is it morning yet or it's still night? Because my days can kind of switch from one to the other, from one 24 hours to the other. My goodness, the NBA playoffs is going off. Good morning, everybody. It's crazy. I would want to talk about, the LA Lakers at the crypto.com center. You expect that they are going to do something really crazy. They're playing at home. They've lost 10 straight to the Nuggets, and they are trailing 2-0 in the series. And you think that's okay, at least at crypto.com, even if they've changed the name, it's still Staples Center. They will come back and win. It's a lie. They're now trailing 3 games to nothing. They may be swept. Lost again last night or early hours of this morning, whichever time zone you are in. And then you talk about the New York Knicks, how they were dominant up until the third quarter. And then the 76ers was like, we cannot fall 3-0 behind. And they came back. Joel Embiid scoring 50 points in one night to get his team over the line against New York Knicks. If you are sleeping, you are sleeping on a long thing. The NBA playoffs is live and it's on. Please don't fall asleep. All right. And on that note, we are into the locker room. Before we go any further into what's happening in Europe, I think, Obashe, tell us, how can we be part of the locker room?
To be part of the locker room this morning, you have to send us a WhatsApp message onto 0809-444-0981 will be where we like to read all those wonderful banter messages and just get them coming onto that platform. Once again, 0809-444-0981. And then, of course, you can go over to YouTube. We're streaming live. Then you can be part of it also by leaving your comments on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Subscribe to the channel and always be part of the family. Then you can see notifications when we come on and we're streaming. Tega, that said, where do we move from here?
I think we should just move straight to the headlines because ain't nobody got time to hang around.
All right, so now let's begin with this one. Where on the bill this morning, Nadal begins Madrid Open with emphatic win as a Newey to face Red Bull, to leave Red Bull over Honor's allegations. And then Man City crush Brighton to close gap on Arsenal in title race. As there will be Liverpool need Arsenal, Man City crisis to win Premier League, that's according to Klopp. There would also be president fan support key in decision to stay. Barca coach Xavi is the one speaking. Arsenal enter enemies den as well. That's more like the elephant going into the lion's den. Arsenal enter enemies den as title race reaches boiling point. And then under pressure, Juventus and Milan face off in fight for a second place in the La Liga, in the Serie A, as Couture can return next week, says Ancelotti.
I was going to ask to what end, but they're paying his salary. So if he's fit, he might as well play, even if it's the last 2 minutes of the season. All right, let's start with what's happening at the Madrid Open with 22-time Grand Slam champion.
Rafael Nadal began his Madrid Open farewell with a crushing straight-set win over American teenager Darwin Blanche.
I would say this, Darwin Blanche lost 6-1, 6-love, and I think a lot of it wasn't down to tennis. It was the fact that he was playing against Rafa Nadal. Because even as soon as he saw the draws that it was Rafa Nadal, his reaction on social media, he posted his reaction on social media. You could tell he was a fanboy. He's 16. By the time he was born, Rafa Nadal had won 3 Grand Slams. That's how young he is. That's the age gap between the both of them. So really tough one for the young the 60-year-old. Let's just not forget, playing against the Rafa Nadal, who is king of clay. Now, a lot of people are talking about Rafa Nadal still being favorite, and Rafa Nadal knows he's not. And he said it in several press conferences, but all the other guys, it doesn't matter how much you say you are injured, how much you say you are old and your bones are creaking. once they see Rafa Nadal on clay, everybody just automatically thinks he's favorite. And he's been denying it since, but today he's going to prove whether he's favorite or not, because he's playing against a runner. And boy, this guy should have been in an endurance sport and not in a sport like tennis, because he's playing against Australian Alex de Minaur today. So it's going to be a tough one. And this will be Rafa Nadal's test of what his body can really take, and if he's going to be able to feature in Roland Garros. But yes, I think yesterday that guy really lost to the monumental figure and the legendary status of Rafa Nadal, much more than he did to the tennis that was being played on court. I'm not saying he could have won. I'm just saying it made the results even worse because he was a fanboy. So that's a tough one. On the women's side, Coco Golf had somewhere to go because she didn't spend an hour on the court. She beat her opponent 6-love in 51 minutes. It did not reach 1 hour. And that 51 minutes is inclusive of all the sit downs, all the grabbing of towels. 51 minutes. She had somewhere to be. Who else? Iga Swiatek also played yesterday and won her match in straight sets. First set was pretty easy, 6-1. Second set was a little tougher, but she eventually got over the hurdle. Unfortunately, we cannot say the same for Naomi Osaka, who stepped up against Samsonova. She tried her best, and one of the two things. First of all, she's coming back from having the baby, so she's still getting back into form. But secondly, it was on clay court. You know her struggles with clay, even when she was winning Grand Slams. So she's been knocked out very early in this tournament in the second round. So let's see how it goes for her from here on out.
Every time you talk about Nadal, I can't help Nadal's body. I always remember your car. I hope it's in order and better than Nadal's body right
It's
now.
still at the mechanical.
Oh God. So moving on now. Red Bull design chief Adrian Newey is set to leave the team in the wake of controversy involving allegations about team principal Christian Horner. Why so? Why won't he stay?
All right. So remember when this allegation came out and then Red Bull did one, let's say officially they did their investigations, and I'm putting those investigations in quotes in case you can't see my hands, and they cleared him of any wrongdoing. Then somebody released evidence. And so even if the evidence has been blocked legally from reaching the media, there are a lot of people in the paddock that have seen the evidence and like, you know what they said he did? He did it. And AJ Newey is one of them. And he doesn't like the way Red Bull handled it. And I don't like the way Red Bull has handled it, a lot of things. But then again, the F1 tends to know how to protect its own. When they want to cover something up, you are not finding it out. It's like there's a cult in that place. You are not finding it out. They will block it legally, they will block it spiritually, they will block it, and so Ejeniwu is amidst the allegations, he's thinking of moving. Now they should be talking contract extensions, because remember, Ejeniwu has been with them for several decades now. And in those decades, I remember when they built the team around Sebastian Vettel and they won 4 straight, and now they've built with Max Verstappen and they're winning. Adrian Newey was the design brain behind that, and his contract expires next year. And instead of thinking of contract extensions, he's looking at moving away amidst these allegations, and he's thinking of moving to you guessed it, Ferrari. And so Red Bull ideally should be doing everything to keep him. But it seems Red Bull have done everything else to protect Christian Horner. And so there's a lot going on behind the scenes that has not started to affect the results on the circuit yet, but it may soon start to affect those results. So yes, there are talks of him moving away. We don't know if they'll eventually settle. We don't know what conclusions they'll reach, but all this bickering behind the scenes is beginning to get a little too much. Perhaps just push Christian Horner into a role that is not non-executive if you insist on having him. because he is really a polarizing factor at Red Bull right now.
This evidence you talk about, most times it reminds one of, could it be that type, even if you have it, if those who have seen it, they've got it on their phone, and they've got this tech that would, no matter what they just send it across the
Somebody
world.
has to somebody has to lie that his phone was hacked and they stole it. Otherwise, he's going to be open to a lawsuit that he may not be able to afford.
Okay.
And you know how it is. You are the one on the it's a team spirit now. You are the one on the team that snitches. Even if people will be
Whoa.
appreciative of knowing the truth, they will always remember that you are the one that snitched.
Okay. Moving on. Manchester City demolished Brighton 4 goals to nil as Phil Foden's double lifted the Premier League title chasers to within 1 point of current leaders Arsenal on Thursday night.
All right, so we know about the run in Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal in the run in to winning the title. Now, Liverpool dropped the ball, and somehow they've fallen off the wagon in recent times. So, um,
Wagon.
they've already dropped behind in the title race. But Manchester City faced a tough opposition on paper in Brighton yesterday, and Brighton is a team that they don't have a middle ground. They don't have gray areas. When they are good, they are very, very good. And when they are bad, they are horrid. They are like coily soup. And yesterday was one of those days they were horrid because there's no explanation for why a Brighton side playing at home with an opportunity to make an impact and to determine where the title goes will fall apart like a pack of cards. And 4 goals was the number of balls that were put in the back of the net, but it was not the number of opportunity that Manchester City created. It could have been worse. And yes, Brighton would argue that they had 1 or 2 penalty calls that on another day they could have gotten at least a penalty. On that, I cannot contend with them. But they considered 4 goals, 4 cheap goals, and 2 of those goals came from playing. You see that nonsense where they play out of the back, even when they are under pressure. Some of the goals came from that, and so you look at that team, um, and you question if they are able to push for more. They had the opportunity to make a big statement. Manchester City had the opportunity to also make a big statement. Manchester chose their moment. They scored 4 brilliant goals. I would say this though, their second goal, that free kick, they took it
Yeah.
from the wrong spot. And because they took it from the wrong spot, it gave them more advantage. Because that where Phil Foden fell is not where the
The
free
kick
kick
was
happened.
taken.
It's not where the foul happened. And
Yeah.
if they had pulled the foul back to where Dunk kicked Phil Foden, I'm not sure they could have scored the goal. It was further out. So they took it from a wrong spot, and they scored. And yes, and like I said, there were 1 or 2 calls that could have gone Brighton's way on any other day. But at the end of the day, Manchester City needed to get 3 points. Manchester City played and got 3 points. It was that simple. So not a good day for Brighton and Hove, but for Manchester City, it's advantage them now because they have that game in hand and they're just 1 point behind Arsenal.
Moral lessons from this: never trust or leave your destiny in the hands of your opponents to help you with the chasing the
Exactly. You,
title.
you
Yeah,
have
we
to
are.
have your fate in your own hands.
That's
Always
all.
have your faith. Beat Aston Villa, your fate is in your hands. It's that
Yes.
simple.
Let's go over now, but I guess we would have to quickly just remind the listener here. We can get your thoughts on 0809 444 0981 WhatsApp messages. And of course, go over to youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Subscribe, leave your comments, and get them building up as we return on the other side to pick them up. It's still the locker room on Smooth 98.1 FM. It is still the locker room on Smooth 98.1 FM. Still got Tega here. Tega, we're back. Messages I see on WhatsApp and of course on YouTube. So which way first? YouTube, WhatsApp.
Let's take some YouTube messages and some WhatsApp messages, and then we'll come back to the stories.
So let's go over to this one from on YouTube, and it's Abiodun Obishason saying Pep is making EPL now look like a tiny farmers league. Imagine still charging Foden after winning 4 goals to nil. Pep's on steroids, and we might as well give them the cup already. Sorry, Arsenal. That's what he has to say. Abiodun's thoughts on YouTube. And Padro Pio says, Tega, pity Brighton. We are talking city here. The golf in class showed. And then it goes on to say Barca deciding to continue with Xavi is like being in an abusive relationship, but unable to leave. He can't do without him, but unable to leave because that level in the other room is top
Yeah,
notch.
I saw that move. I saw that movie on YouTube yesterday, and they were asking the girl, "So are you dating this guy?" She said, "We are getting to know each other. So are you single?" She said, "Not really." I said, "Okay, what are you doing?" That's exactly where Barcelona look like they are right now. But let's take some messages for WhatsApp, and then we go into the rest of the
Okay.
story.
So next one I got on AY from Oniru is here and he says, for those waiting for Man City to drop points, I'm sorry to disappoint y'all, but that's ain't gonna happen. Their performance against Brighton last night was very clear statement. And then drops by Larry from the abroad and he's saying, Adrian is the most valued talent in the paddock. Ask any principal if they would take a combo of Louis and Max or Adrian, and they will all go for Newey. Coincidentally, is also said to be always wanted to work with Louis, and if Fred Verser pulls this one off, that will be the biggest scalps he claimed in the paddock, all in 12 months. Bring on 2026 and the inevitable 8th title, Lanry from the abroad, as Victor Sherwin says, it will be painful to lose the league by 1 point. That's all he has to say.
I agree. It can be painful. We might as well have lost it since, but hey, should have beaten Aston Villa. All right, let's take the next story.
And we move on now. Jurgen Klopp conceded Liverpool need a collapse from Arsenal and Man City to win the Premier League after a shock 2-0 defeat at Everton on Wednesday.
I'm with him. The crisis that Liverpool are in right now. They need that kind of crisis to happen at Arsenal. That one is foreseeable, but at Manchester City, that one is tough because Manchester City have proven season in, season out to win their last. Sometimes it's 12 games, and they have this run of great form. So it's a tough one that two teams will just collapse at the same time in order for you to win. Their own miracle is long. This is tantamount to going to the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, no food, no water. But it's a tough ask. And it is all shades of wrong. I mean, think about it. Just before the match, an Everton fan was saying that Arsenal fans were sliding into a DM to tell her that she should make sure that her team wins. And she was trying to remind Arsenal fans that, look, the last time Everton won against Liverpool in a derby at home, that the person that scored the goal is now the manager of your club. That's how long ago it has been. So for you to expect Everton to win against Liverpool is a tough one. Guess what? Everton did the improbable. And they didn't just win; they won by 2 clean goals. Again, it was typical Sean Dyche football. Contain, and then get a set piece and score from there. A very frustrating kind of football, but it gets the result. But also, you have to look at Liverpool because their finishers are not just clinical in front of goal. From Mo Salah to Diaz to Darwin Nunes, you just wonder how did every single striker at Liverpool lose form at the same time. Is there something in the water or something in the food? And so that should be the problem for Jurgen Klopp. His team is not scoring. They got into the title race because they scored. They are losing because they haven't scored enough. And so that seems to be the problem. But yes, he's right. They need a meltdown from both teams to have the opportunity to win this title.
No wonder the man is even itching to go. He sees
He can't
everybody's.
wait. He's really
He
tired.
can't
He's
wait.
tired.
He's
He's
really
tired.
tired. Moving on now to Barca, as Xavi Hernandez said on Thursday that he has decided to stay on as Barcelona coach for a cocktail of reasons, including support from key figures at the club and supporters. Who are these key figures in question, Tega?
Again, I want to ask the fans, because you see, the Barcelona fans I know were rejoicing that he was leaving at the end of the season, only for him to pull this Michael Jordan comeback. I don't want people that are back like Jordan like this. And when Michael Jordan came back, it wasn't as pretty as the first time he was there. So you can imagine what the fans are expecting. So the fans I know, they don't want him to come back. But if you're a Barcelona fan, let's hear your thoughts on this matter. The numbers to send your messages to are
0809 444 0981 will be where we read the messages. And of course, leave us a message on youtube.com/smooth981FM. Subscribe and leave the comment.
all right. So because it's a tough one, because I don't know what kind of stunt he was trying to pull, saying that okay, people are angry with me, people don't want me, so I'm going to leave at the end of the season. Maybe he thought that was going to, push the boys to try and get results, do something last for him, give him one last hurrah. It didn't work, because they are trailing by 11 points in the La Liga, lost shockingly again to lost painfully, not shockingly, lost painfully again to Real Madrid in the El Clasico. So it's 11 points now in the La Liga. They're not doing anything in the Champions League. They're not doing anything in the Copa del Rey. So such an abysmal season. And if that was a publicity stunt to try and push his guys, it didn't work. And it should show the management that this guy cannot motivate that dressing room. Shockingly, yesterday, we are now hearing that he's going to stay on a longer time, that the fans want him. Which fans, Oga? Do you know another fan that I don't know? And so those are the questions we're asking. Is this a good decision? Is it that Barcelona cannot afford to let him go? Maybe that's why they're keeping him on, because that's the only other reason, fans can take. But that the fans want you, I don't know many fans that want Barcelona. So if you're a fan, if you're a Barcelona fan, please give us your thoughts. Again, the numbers to send your messages to are
0809 444 0981. Expecting to read the messages, but let's see the fans of this next club. They have a different mindset at this point in time. One fixture looking like a troll in Arsenal's Premier League title run in has probably consumed the thoughts of the club's fans more than any other. Sunday's short trip down the road to arch-rivals Tottenham seemed to be that.
Yes, so I'd always said, of the three teams that were contending for the title, Arsenal seemed to have the tougher running. They're playing Tottenham on Sunday. They still have to play Manchester United at Old Trafford. I think they're rounding up their season against Everton. Yes, the same Everton that beat Liverpool by 2-0, and the same Everton that's trying to survive relegation. So it's a tough task for Arsenal, either way you look at it. So they have to play each match like a final and find character from somewhere. They're in uncharted waters. This team, not Arsenal as a team, but these particular players and this particular manager, they are in uncharted waters, and that's what is tough for them. So they play Tottenham Hotspur against on Sunday to see if they can continue for the push in the title. Now, if there is any team in the world, any familiar spirit, any village people, as we say in Nigeria, that wants Arsenal to not win the title, it is Tottenham Hotspur. If they are going to have to bleed to make sure Arsenal doesn't win on Sunday, they are going to bleed. And that's what makes it even tougher. It's a derby of epic proportions. Now, in recent time, Arsenal have had, the favor. If you look at the head-to-head, Arsenal is favorable. In recent matches, Arsenal have had favorable results. But remember, they drew 2-2 when they met in 2023. And Arsenal cannot afford a draw in the running. They need
A
a
win.
win all through. So it's going to be a tough one. And Tottenham would like nothing better than to stop Arsenal's title run. So if Arsenal had any character left in them,
Yeah.
if they had a praying grandmother, because it may go beyond football now,
Mm.
now is the time to call her and say she should pray for them because it's going to be tough on Sunday.
It's time to release that Citadel right now. I think Citadel would do Arsenal if they release Citadel at this point in time. It might work for them.
It might work for them. All right.
Juventus versus AC Milan is traditionally one of the biggest rivalries in Italian football, but this weekend's Serie A meeting between the pair is a battle for the run-up spot, with both managers unsure of their future, unlike Xavi.
Sorry. Yes, that's a tough one. So Juventus and Inter Milan are separated by, I still think, by 5 points. So 5 or 4 points. So if Juventus wins this weekend, Juventus will just close the gap. They are not going to overtake AC Milan yet. They just close the gap, and then they can overtake AC Milan. It should AC Milan drop points in the next game and they win, and that's what is tough for them. So this second spot is on the line for both teams. Now remember, AC Milan did all they tried. Unfortunately for them, they have a conservative coach like Pioli, and so they lost their Milan derby, and then Inter Milan won the Scudetto against AC Milan at home. So that was a tough one to swallow. And AC Milan will not want to lose the Scudetto to arch rivals and then lose second spot to Juventus, even if they were cursed. So at this point in time, it's going to be a tough one. But yes, Juventus is smelling blood in the water. And so they're trying to see if they can take advantage of that. Like I said, should they win this match, they close the gap and then they can take opportunity later. But it's going to be a battle. The Scudetto is gone, but second spot is still open.
At all, that's they say on the street.
Yes, so at all. But Juventus also still have to worry about the Coppa Italia because they've gotten to the final now. AC Milan have nothing. They have no pot on the fire. They, they
Not
have
a
no.
mug.
They have no exactly. They have no sales in the shop. Nothing is going for them. So they are going to put their all into this battle.
All
Yeah.
right. Real Madrid coach Carlo Ancelotti said on Thursday that injured goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois could return from injury as soon as next week.
Yeah, but I was going to say to what purpose, but because I don't think if he comes back from injury, they're just going to just rush him and put him in a game, in the Champions League game especially. So, but it will be great to have him at least for the end of the season so that you can start preparing towards next season. I think that's the good news for Thibaut Courtois because he picked up his ACL injury at about the same time Militao picked up his injury, and Militao is back in the squad, has featured in a few games here and there. So to get Thibaut Courtois back will be fantastic for Real Madrid.
All right,
And on that note, let's run through the messages and see if some Barcelona fans really want Xavi.
Let's take the grace quickly now. Padre Pio, Barca deciding to continue with Xavi is like being in an abusive relationship. Okay, that's done. Okay, then Ogundikwe Oluwasegun says, good morning. There is still another twist in this EPL title, which will change the opinion of everything there is in this EPL. That's what he says. Then Padre Pio comes back to say, somehow I feel City would drop points in the last 4, but could still nip this. That's what he says. Obisheson on Xavi saying that he has unfinished business in Barca is the most delusional statement since the Second World War, when the drama queen board.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's a delusional statement. Delulu.
Shoddily boots him out. We, the Barca fans, will never cry him a river. Chimobi Victor comes up saying, Tega, truth be told, Arsenal would demolish Tottenham by 4-0. Nobody can stop us from winning the EPL this season. Not even Chelsea supporters. That's what he has to say. But on Xavi, he says, Xavi is totally ridiculous. A coach who lacks tactics and has collected more red cards than any player in the team.
Don't mind him. I don't know. He It lacks tactical awareness and emotional awareness. That's just the wrong combination. All right. And on that note, what to say? Thank you. I know there are more messages, but we are really out of time.
Yes.
So what to say? Thank you for your time. Thank you for sending in your messages. Thank you for tuning in to Smooth 98.1 FM to listen to the locker room. And please don't forget, when you are watching football this weekend, whatever you believe in, you have to carry it along because you don't want your team to be fodder for banter. And on that note, have a great weekend, have a blessed weekend, and aspire to Maguire as you.
All right, Tega, that's it.